Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sree Iyer and I'm going to talk about this icon that DMK literally worships, EVR or Erode Venkatasamy Ramasamy Naicker. He's also called as Periyar. Periyar is somebody who's big, big one, like big brother. It could be anything. They used to call him Thanthai Periyar, Father Periyar. Who was this person? And this is not just aimed at those people who may not know Tamil Nadu politics, but also to those people who know Tamil Nadu politics, because I'm going to be drawing upon a lot of recollections from memory of many things that I have read about EVR. And this is going to be a fun-filled monologue on my side, and you guys can ask questions and I'll try to answer those questions. He was born in 1879 in the town of Erode. Erode is an industrial town. His father, Venkatasamy, was a merchant. He was a well-to-do man. And when he was growing up, he had an elder brother. We don't know much about that. But Ramaswamy grew up at home. And many pundits, like, for example, Vaishnavite pundits would come and give pravachan in his house. His father was a very religious man. He was a trustee of a very big temple. He had a lot of property, and he would invite, these scholars to come and give talks. So as a child, Ramaswamy used to look at all these things, and he would start asking some, inconvenient questions. I mean, you have to remember that not every pandita knew the answers to many of the questions that he used to ask. I mean, this is basically how much you know Sanatana Dharma. I mean, I knew more about Sanatana Dharma from listening to many of my guests. If I had to read it on my own, I probably would not be even a 1/10 aware of the greatness of the Dharma than I am, because of the fact that I have been a good listener. So what he did was, he never really, got on to religion, or the God hatred came a little bit later. Initially, it was just religion, and slowly this religion, questioning the ideals and the different ways in which people were, holding their belief system. This made him to start asking more and more inconvenient questions. His father was getting increasingly disillusioned with his son for doing all these things, and he did something on which I'm going to come to later. But first, please like this video, and if you have not subscribed to our channel, do subscribe to our channel. Some people ask me, how can I like the video without watching it first? Excellent question. Here is my take on this, okay? Now, what happens is, because of some of the views held by PGurus and myself and my guests, there's a lot of automatic robots which start eating, like, this is bad, hate kind of messages at the YouTube video. Now, whether it is YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, wherever you are consuming the content, those software platforms have algorithms, and when they see a particular video get a lot of knocks or negatives, they tend to lower the virality. Now, how to counter that? You counter that by having a high number of likes at the very beginning. See, each cancels out, the likes cancel out the likes cancel out the dislikes, and therefore you get a more better reception for your thoughts. This is just an idea, no proof for this, but I have noticed that many programs of ours go very viral when all people start liking it right at the very beginning. And this holds true for any channel. So it's just a 2-cent thing. I figured this out by accident, and that's why I'm sharing this with you. So let's get back to the topic. He used to hate 5 things: God, religion, Gandhi, Congress, and Brahmins. Okay, so we have covered 2, God and religion. Now let's take a look at Congress. He was a member of the Congress. In fact, he headed the 𝗒𝗂𝘁 movement, which was in Kerala. And slowly but steadily, he started getting disillusioned with Congress. And this led to him joining the Justice Party. He was not a founder of the Justice Party. It was founded by 3 Rajas and from different parts. We're not going to go much into that, but he essentially joined Justice Party after getting disillusioned with Congress. And here, the Congress itself, when he was an active member, was consisting of many big shots who were mostly Brahmins. For example, Satyamurthy and then Rajaji. By the way, he and Rajaji were best of friends. Politically, they were on the opposite sides of the spectrum, but personally, they were the best of the friends. Again, I'll tell you one anecdote at the end of this program as to why this friendship endured for so long. So that I'll come to a little bit later. So now let's take a look at why did he hate Congress? He hated Congress because those leaders, it is believed, like for example, Satyamurthy or Rajaji, they wanted crowds to come to their meetings. But in order to gather crowds, you needed to have to speak in their language. Most of these people, Satyamurthy, Rajaji, and many other tall leaders, until Kamaraj came along, which was much, much later, they were fluent only in English. So they would address meetings in English. Now, take a step back and think about this, guys. Madras presidency, how many people in a small village are going to understand English? No one. So nobody would come to their meeting. So in order to get crowds to their meeting, they would ask EVR to come address the meeting. Okay, so what would happen is, because he was fluent in 3 languages, Kannada, Tamil, and Telugu, he could speak in any of these languages. The people came to listen to him because he spoke in their language, their dialect, and he would use bad words. I mean, whatever. He used colorful language, let's say. So what would happen is that he would go to any place where the Congress leadership would ask him to come and talk. But what the Congress people would do, it is believed, is that they would, have him address the meeting, but he would be the last speaker because they needed him to be there so that they could speak to the crowds in English. Their hope was that the press would give them a good buzz saying 20,000 people came to listen to Rajaji speak or Satyamurthy speak. Okay, but the actual speaker, the person who drew the crowds, was EVR. At that time, he was very patriotic. We have to understand this thing. This is not actually, I'm not going to dress down EVR. I'm just going to give you the way I recollect reading about Periyar. So when the crowds used to listen to him, he would, give his talk. It'll be a half-an-hour talk. It'll be like an amazing success. By that time, the leadership of Congress, like Satyamurthy or Rajaji, they would all melt away. Okay, they will go eat somewhere. And those days, there weren't many hotels. So being Brahmins and vegetarians, they would go to eat at some place and they would just go and disappear. This man, EVR, would be the last person out. But by the time he turned around to see where he could get food, there weren't many places. And even when he did eat at some of the people who are organizing the function, it could be the head of the village or something like that, they would treat him sort of not very well. Let me just put it that way. And this is the truth. So he used to think, how come I'm eating outside? There is a thing, they used to feed him. Every house in those days had something like a veranda in the front where you could sit and eat. And that's where they would put his food and make him to eat. And it used to rankle him. This was one side. Then he started thinking, why is it that I'm being treated differently? So this is one of the reasons why he started hating Congress, because Congress at that time to him represented Brahmin. There's another incident that is supposed to have taken place when he was very young, and that took place in Kashi. He goes to Kashi, and he didn't have much money on his hands, and he was very, very hungry, and he wanted to eat. So there were many chaudhries who were giving free food, but those chaudhries would not give food unless you were a Brahmin. And this man, out of desperation, tried to even put a jano and go and ask for food. But the person who was regulating entry looked at him and said, "You're wearing a mustache. You cannot be a Brahmin." And he threw him out. And he was so hungry that he was actually forced to eat from castaway leaves. You understand what I'm saying? So this was another reason why he developed deep hatred for Brahmins. The other kicker there was when he found out who exactly was the person who built that particular chaudhry, he found out that that person wasn't even a Brahmin, but somebody who was well-to-do from South. So he really, really started hating, why is this injustice there? What is it that I have done that I don't even deserve a free meal? So this also, weighed in his mind, and this is how he started, hating Brahmins. But then when he came back to the South, he was disillusioned with Congress, and he saw that Justice Party was coming up. Slowly but steadily, his viewpoint grew away from the Congress, and he started becoming a big shot in the Justice Party. The Justice Party itself split a few times, and I think around 1940s, early 1940s or late 1930s, EVR Ramaswamy Naicker became the main person in the Justice Party, and he called it 𝗣𝗚𝙀𝗀𝘀𝘁. He said, this from here on, this shall be called 𝗣𝗚𝙀𝗀𝘀𝘁, DK. Now, at that point of time, the Justice Party split in two, and one set said, no, we are going to maintain the same name, Justice Party, and that was led by the grandfather of the previous, or today I think, IT Minister, PTR Pranivell Tyagarajan. So his grandfather had a splinter Justice Party that was there till 1957, and eventually it faded away. So 𝗣𝗚𝙀𝗀𝘀𝘁 was born, and under that, EVR, he never intended for 𝗣𝗚𝙀𝗀𝘀𝘁 to become a political party. And he had a protege, his name was C.N. Annadurai. C.N. Annadurai joined him as an editor. I think he had a press, because he would tell in all the meetings that he would go and address, saying that, look, all the newspaper owners are Brahmins, so they will never publish what I am saying here. So I have this piece of paper, give 5 paisa and take, and this is what it is that I'm going to be talking about. So that is how he used to distribute his ideas, his philosophy, his literature, and so on and so forth. And for that, it was C.N. Annadurai who was the first person who was editing, and he was a pretty sharp guy. Annadurai could really write well. Now, then what happened was, in 1948, he married somebody who was much, much younger to him, called Maniammai. And some say that she was actually his adopted daughter. How can he end up marrying his own adopted daughter? So there was a fair amount of controversy about that. But it is also believed that it was Rajaji who convinced him that he needs to get married to her, so that he could have someone to lean on at the time of old age. So that is one story. Now, remember I told you that I will say about their deep friendship. Here it goes. Now, I don't have proof for this, but I've heard this from many people. So I'm going to relate this one story. So what happened was, when Venkatasamy, that is the father of Ramaswamy, saw that his son wasn't really being devout, he wasn't worshipping God, he wasn't being religious, he wasn't having any interest in the family business, he said, okay, I'm so disgusted with this guy, I'm going to write all my property, my 𝗤𝙧𝙤𝙪, everything to the 𝗤𝗨𝗎 Murugan. That is, the 𝗤𝗨𝗎 is the name of a village. It's one of the 6 special places for Murugan. Murugan is also Kumaraswamy and Subramanya. And he said, I'm going to deed everything I have to this 𝗤𝗨𝗎 Murugan. So he wrote a will saying that I'm going to will all my property to 𝗤𝗨𝗎 Murugan. So, and he passed away, or he was about to pass away. I don't remember this. That's why I'm saying there is no real, newspaper story about this. Then he came to know that he's not going to get any of his property. Then he came running to his bosom friend Rajaji. Rajaji was a very successful lawyer. Then he listened to what EVR had to say, and he said, listen, I'll give you an idea. Okay, do this thing and we'll make sure that you will get the property. And you know what he said? He said, just build a small temple for Muruga, Lord Muruga, and call that temple 𝗤𝗨𝗎 Murugan. So when his father passed away, and he became the trustee of that 𝗤𝗨𝗎 Murugan temple. So when his father passed away, he showed that, look, this is the temple that he meant it, and since I am the trustee, therefore I should be managing this property. If his father had actually written the correct name for the 𝗤𝗨𝗎 Subramanya, which was 𝗠𝗪𝗪𝗔𝗪𝗔. Dandam is, a stick, like in that particular avatar, Subramanya becomes a sadhu. So in fact, you can see he's wearing bhagwa and he's wearing a stick in 𝗤𝗨𝗎. That is his swarupa there. So that was the thing that Rajaji figured out, that this technicality I can use to make sure that my friend will continue to enjoy his father's property. Now, come 1949, Periyar marries Maniammai, and the remaining people led by C.N. Annadurai felt that this was the right time to get out of DK and start their own party, because Periyar was not for joining politics. He didn't want DK to be in politics. He said, I'm going to spread social messaging. I'm not going to be running politics. I'm not going to be contesting as a politician. So they used this as an excuse and started DMK. In fact, there were, I believe, 26 signatories to the first resolution that DMK passed. The first one was C.N. Annadurai, and the last one, the 26th person to sign on, was 𝗤𝗂𝘀𝘀𝘀 Karunanidhi, who now stands to be the person who is identified with DMK. So you can understand that the DMK needed something to hang their hat on. And that's how, once Periyar passed away in 1973, they essentially used him. They have a very selective memory of what he did and what he stood for, and they only use that to push their own agenda forward. You may also be interested to know that in 1967, that the first time that DMK came to power, do you know who was in the DMK coalition? It was Rajaji. It was Rajaji who was the cause for the DMK to come to power. But as soon as they came to power, DMK sidelined Rajaji's party, which was the Swatantra party. And after that, he was a completely broken man. He died in 1972. Now, in 1967 elections, do you know who was on the other side? On the Congress side, it was Mr. EVR. EVR was with Congress. So EVR was on the opposite side of DMK in 1967 elections. The party he hated so much, the man he hated so much, he hated Gandhi mainly because of he had become the face of Congress. It wasn't beyond that. I don't have any anecdote to share with you as to why he specifically hated the person called Gandhi. So from 67 until his death in 1973, he was a staunch opponent of DMK. In fact, wherever he went from 1949 to 1973, those last 24 years, he used to rant and rave at Annadurai and the DMK gang. DMK found that there was another way to capture the people's imagination. That was cinema. And they had two or three powerful people. MK Karunanidhi and C.N. Annadurai could write good scripts. And these scripts were all like commonsensical and hate God, no God, all that kind of stuff. They had a couple of good faces who could act. One was M.G. Ramachandran, who went on to start ADMK, and the other was Shivaji Ganeshan. Shivaji again ended up being with the Congress. There was another controversy. We will not go into that today. And they had a good, also another good lyricist called Kannadasan, who wrote very well. So anyway, long story short, this is how Periyar has become the face of the DMK party. Today, the DMK party finds itself rudderless, boatless, and it is very, very shameful that the Congress party comes back to DMK, and practically in Tamil Nadu, it is wiping the floor. DMK is wiping the floor with Congress, and Congress doesn't seem to mind. I don't know why they have to be so kowtowing to DMK. Anyway, that is for them to figure out what's going to happen. But I hope you understand why EVR is such a big influence in the Tamil Nadu politics. The ADMK also quotes the EVR from time to time. They tend to not play him up, but they will never go and take an anti-EVR stance. That is for sure. I think I'm going to stop my monologue at this time, and I'm going to quickly see if there are any questions that I can answer. Thank you so much, Rajan, for becoming a YouTube member. Thank you, Varun. Sree, when do you think Dems will attack Ramaswamy for his Brahmin background? Any predictions? I think it is coming. Or his wife is Brahmin too. Look, Varun, I think this concept of how you are born and that's been left behind, I don't see anybody in the United States delving that deep. The equality labs, 𝗤𝗏 𝗠𝘠𝑚, this is propped up by, I think, some Christian groups who want to try and sow discord here and use this to go back to in India and say that, look, even in US, they are being discriminated. I think this is going to die down. I have no doubt in my mind somebody is going to sue Equality Labs as well as many of its office bearers, and they're going to lose big, and that will be the end of it. The Democrats are essentially socialists at heart with something extra that makes the economy to work, except that I believe that this time the Democratic Party is plumbing new lows. Unfortunately, they know how to win elections. And if you want to know how they did that, you should read my book, Who Painted My State Purple. That will give you an insight on how Democrats win elections. And in fact, I think 2024 is not going to be a cakewalk for Donald Trump. This is just my personal opinion. Prash want to know, how did the DMK and Swatantra party win in 1967? Rajaji was a Brahmin. Wasn't there a lot of anti-Brahmin sentiment in Tamil Nadu? Yes, there was. In fact, the anti-Brahmin sentiment started fairly early on, I think in the 1900s or so on and so forth. There is another monologue I did about why are Brahmins hated in Tamil Nadu. You may want to take a look at that, because that is a slightly different perspective about what happened to the Brahmins. So you can watch that to get a better perspective. What happened was that when Rajaji was campaigning with the DMK parties, he used to take out his jano and he'll say, on my jano, I promise you that you should only vote for DMK because Congress has become really bad. His big grouse with Congress was that when Patel died, Rajaji came out of retirement to become, in fact, even before Patel died, around after he finished his Governor General term, he was a minister without portfolio at the center. Why? Because you needed somebody to maintain peace between Sardar Patel and Jawaharlal Nehru, and that was Rajaji. But by the time Mountbatten had returned to England, Mahatma Gandhi was gone. So he was the glue that held the party together. And when Sardar Patel died suddenly in 1950, Rajaji became the Home Minister. At that point, Jawaharlal Nehru knew that there were only two people who were going to be lasting for some time, him and Rajaji. So he found ways to ease him out. People say that it was he who sent Rajaji back as the Chief Minister of the United Madras state, and then did the linguistic separation to break him down even further. Whatever it is, he hated Nehru and everything that Nehru stood for, and Congress to him had become the face of Nehru. So that was his anti-Nehru, anti-Congress sentiment. That's why he went and started Swatantra Party. Swatantra Party was the main opposition party in 1967 elections against Indira Gandhi. At that time, even Morarji Desai and Kamaraj, they were all still part with Indira Gandhi. So they were the main opposition party. So maybe Rajaji found consolation that, okay, even though I might not get anything in Tamil Nadu, I have at least become the leader of the opposition party at the center. So you can think of it that way. The anti-Brahmin sentiment has actually taken root in the last 40, 50 years. It's really taken root. There are not many opportunities for Brahmins to get seats. In fact, the EWS, economically weakened sections quota of 10% in Tamil Nadu, DMK government refuses to implement it, saying that it will benefit the Brahmins. These guys have their nut loose somewhere. That's all I can tell you. Unfortunately, nobody's challenging this. They can actually go to court and win their rights. It's not just the Brahmins who are losing out. There are 31 communities that are listed as forward caste category, including some communities of Muslims and Christians who also are losing out. But somehow nobody seems to be gathering courage to challenge the government on this. Very, very despicable how DMK goes about doing its business. They just do the numbers game. If I say this, if I do this, I get so much percentage of the vote. And if this is enough for me to win and become chief minister, I'm happy. I'm in power. I can eat all I want. You see how this Ponmadi and Sendil Balaji, all of these people are going into jail. They will not be coming out anytime soon. This is my prediction. Next. Varun, again, I think Democrats will fall to that level. Honestly, well, you are seeing what Was Rajaji's Kulakalvi, caste-based vocational education, the reason why DMK could beat him up? I think DMK found a convenient stick when in his first term as chief minister, Rajaji introduced Hindi as a compulsory language to learn in Tamil Nadu. I think it was the state of Madras. Interestingly, it was only in some portions that there was resistance. Other places did not resist. In fact, you see today, Andhra or Telangana or Karnataka, even Kerala, you can get by with passable Hindi. Tamil Nadu, you will hit a wall. Very few people speak the language, and those who speak the language are probably people who are in the guide business or tourism and so on and so forth. But it is not taught in school. So this is the problem. And those people who get educated in Tamil Nadu find that once they move out of the state, they have very limited opportunities. So it is the hypocrisy of the Dravida parties, DMK and ADMK combined, that is actually killing the future of the youth of Tamil Nadu. That is why the youth are finding a big resonance in Annamalai's candidacy. And I think this is going to be a tidal wave. When that will happen, I can't say, but it will happen. All right, guys, and that's all we have. And let me see, make sure that, I have addressed all the donors also. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. And before I go, come back and join us at 10 a.m. when I'm going to be talking with Delhi R. Rajagopalan. And this is going to be another fun-filled, scoop-filled episode you don't want to miss. Thanks once again. Namaskar.